Hi, it's Cassie Oelberg in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, and we are doing sketch 4 of the May virtual crop. Love this one. It uses lots of photos. It goes across the double page spread. I get to build this one on Fast Fab pages, which, these ones are still available. So I'm going to keep doing them for as many as I can. So let's go ahead and just get over to the desktop and see what we got going on. Loved the sketch. I think this may have been one of my favorites. It just had a lot of fun stuff going on. So let's just get down to work. So the first thing we need to do is build this border over here. And look, this lent itself beautifully to that. I love it when a Fast to Fab page just comes together and does exactly what I want it to do. So we're going to use this fun tool, and we're going to use this wave side. If you haven't used this before, it is a really cool tool. What's really great about it, it has a RGB, that goes red blade, green blade, blue blade, to show you where to cut. But you can also just line it up across the top and slide to get however many inches that you would like. So as long as you know where you're starting, then you can just slide it that many and get what you need very easily. Okay. So we are going to use this dark blue paper, and we'll put it down on here. And just make sure that when you line your paper up, that you line it up perfectly on there so that you get the right cut. And then we are going to bring this over. And I am going to use, I'm going to start it here to give myself a little room. But we're going to use the blue blade first, because I'm just trying to create the skinny one. Now, when they did the sketch, they did 3 inches, and then this is layered on top of it. We're not going to do that, and you'll see why. So we're going to just cut this with the blue blade first. We're just making ourselves a skinny piece. No, I didn't go all the way to the bottom. Not a big deal. Just keep it going. Okay. And now I'm just going to do the same thing with the red blade. And this gives us this nice skinny piece. And now I'm just going to pick this up and I'm going to cut it with my straight blade. So let's just bring this over. Just off of there so it's flat. And I'm just going to cut myself a nice skinny piece. I want it to be about 1 inch. The hump. And so there we go. And now I'm going to show you what we're doing. I love it when I can take things and build from what I already have. So we're going to flip this, and we're going to put this down right here. And check that out. It lets us use the border. It lets us use this background paper. And this is why I love Fast to Fab so much. And then we're going to just put this down right over top of this. And we're going to get to use this skinny strip too. And now I'm going to shuffle that to the side a little bit so I can get this piece. And it is going to nestle right in here. And then we didn't have to make a whole big 3-inch piece. And now we are going to go ahead and we're going to put our piece over here. And we're going to just stick with this dark blue. Sorry, guys. I need it to have humps again. Oh. Okay. So we're going to bring this over. And this time we're just going to go right to the very edge. It's our red blade. And then again, we're going to bring our trimmer and cut ourselves. And we're just going to make ourselves this piece right here. It's over here. And so that's going to be about 1 inch also. We're going to flip it to the other side. Okay, easy peasy. And as long as we are building our borders, we might as well just do the other side at the same time, and then we'll come back and put these pieces in the middle. There we go. Helps if you make it straight. Okay, so now we're going to come over here to the other side. What did I do with the page that goes over here? I threw it over here. Of course I did. Okay, so we're just going to do this part over here. And we are going to want a very skinny piece to go right along here. Because we're not layering the paper. We're actually making the little parts. So we are going to make this skinny piece right here. 1/4 inch. And we're going to use the green map side. And it's going to go right over here to mimic this little skinny line here. Okay, so now we are going to keep this line, but we need this piece right here. So what we're going to do is we are going to use this scrap to go right here. And that way we can cover up that fuzzy part again, like we did on the other side, and use that blue strip. And now we have this piece. And I'm looking at it and I remembered I didn't want to use exactly this piece because, as you can see, this was the part to that side. So you do have to remember that it's going to cut a little bit differently because this is the, I'll just show you. This is the leftover from here. So the humps go in a slightly different direction. And I wanted my humps to all go the same way, just like in the sketch. It's just more eye-pleasing, and I can save those for another page, another day. So remember, if you put your scraps in a little folder, I usually like to keep them in a Power Project folder until I'm all done using that collection. And then I shuffle them into my scraps box after that. But until I'm done working with a collection, I just keep it in a Power Project folder so that I can easily use those things. So now we're going to cut this off here. And we have our piece for the other side. Yep. So I can make a very similar page to this, but have the humps go in the other direction. And that's why you want to save those, because you might want them later. Okay, so now we've done both of the borders, and we used the borders that were already on the Fast and Fab page, and that always brings me lots and lots of joy. So now we are going to build these pieces that go here. So we're going to do gray. I love this beautiful gray. And what did I want to do? I want to cut one. I'm going to cut this at 10.5 by 10.5. But what I'm going to do for this right-hand side, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut down 2 sides of it so that I have my borders that are going to go in the middle. So when you do this, make sure you're not holding your finger over here. Put it in. I usually stick a piece of paper here to catch my scraps so I can easily put them into my little trash bin. And we are going to cut off here. I didn't have to, we needed to do this side. I want to make sure I keep that on there. So remembering what I had decided to do. So by doing this now, and then I can cut it at 10.5. Silly me. I'll tell you what. Helps if you turn the paper the right direction, Cass. Okay. So now we have that. And we're going to rotate it and do another border. Because if you look at the sketch, these borders do not go all the way across. So perfect. We're getting these borders out of the outside edges of here. And since we're layering the paper, it's going to work out really nice. I did not line that up very well. So this little tray is what lines this paper up. So you just want to make sure you take a second and get it straight. And then you just move down the paper. This one's pretty easy to use because it doesn't have any little 1/8 of an inch strips that come out of it. When it does that, you need to be careful that you don't rip your border. And you've probably seen videos where I show you how to make sure that you don't do that. Okay, so these borders are going to go on our page for later. So we'll just put them off to the side. And now we have the 10.5 by 10.5 for the right-hand side. Throw those scraps away. And now we need a 7.25 by 10.5 for the other side. So we want it to be 10.5 this way. Let's see where 7 goes. Okay, we are going to be able to get rid of this entire piece if we do the 7.25 first. So I am going to do that because otherwise they're going to both be in the same corner. And I'll be honest, I don't love that. Okay, so 7.25 by 10.5. And there we go. So I'm going to go here. And now let's go ahead and cut our layer that's going to go over top of that. So these are going to be 10 going this direction so that our map is going the right way. And 6 3/4. Not cut it to 7. There we go. Not cut it to 6 3/4 yet on the new trimmer. So I wanted to take a second and make sure I was doing it right. And then this goes 10 by 10. I do a lot of 6.5, so it really, really makes me happy that this goes out to the edge for 6.5. Makes my cutting go a lot faster. So now we're going to bring this over. And these are just going to layer right in here. So they're 10 inches tall. And that means, yes, forgot I needed this to be a little bit shorter because I made my border thicker than what they did in the sketch. Not a big deal. Let's just get this one down first. And we're going to do this is 10.5, so 3/4 top and 3/4 bottom. And now this one needs to be a little bit shorter. Let's just take our clear ruler. I made my border a little bit bigger than they did. So I am just going to cut it down to 9.5. And that just means that when we put our photos on, we're going to have to adjust the size of the photos a tiny bit. But that's an easy thing to do, and you guys can see me do it live. Okay, so just going to come over here. And again, measuring 3/4 from the bottom, 3/4 from the top. There we go. Let's see, we brought that down. How much did we cut off? We'll take the easy peasy route. So we cut off 1 inch. So we'll cut 1 inch off of here. And that's going to go right on there. And I covered that up. I forgot I was covering that up. I'll be totally honest. Completely forgot. But I still cut it in the right direction because it would not have covered it up if I had cut that side and cut through it. It would show on the edge. I knew there was a reason I wanted to do it that way. So those are going to go over top of there. And then that covers it completely. Whereas if I had not cut it with it in that corner and I had cut through, then part of it would be sticking out. So still a good decision. Okay, so now we are going to do our photos and our matting. And of course, I left my dark blue paper right over here. I'm always in motion, so every time I do a class, I seem to move something to another spot. So now we're going to use our mats, but let's go ahead and plan out our photos before we cut our mats. So these are the photos I want to put over here. And let's decide how we want to make them fit. So we have, this is scrapbooking in action. So we're going to cut this down. So that it's even on both sides. So that means we need to cut it to, it looks like 1 1/8. Yep, 1 1/8. Highly recommend that you line it up at the top and the bottom, because I did not, but I will fix it. There we go. And this is going to go through the center. And I'll cut that down in a second. First, I'm going to do this photo. So I want this photo to be 5 3/4. This is me looking at the journal of Queen Victoria, who is my spirit queen. She journaled everything, and she had artists come and actually draw what was happening, paint what was happening, so that she kind of scrapbooked in the olden times before scrapbooking was a thing. Now, I can't even imagine what life would be like if I lived during a time when there was no scrapbooking, but that would make me sad. So I cut it to the size of the sketch, 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. So now I just need my 4 by 6 mat. I'm going to cut that. And we want this to be 6 inches across. So we're just going to bring this here and see. Yeah, that's going to give us half a circle at each end, and I like that. So I was just looking to see if I wanted to cut more off that end and have full circles, but I like that look right there. So now we're going to mat this picture. This sketch just has so much going on, and I love it. Okay, so this is going to come in here. We use our silicone mat to tape this one because it has all those little holes. Thank goodness for repositionable tape. So this is going to go right in here. And now we're going to check our space that's left. It says to mat these down here, but I'm not going to mat this photo because I want it to be a little bit taller. I want to come right down to the top of the house. And then if I come right over here like this, I can cut just a little bit off the bottom. And by not matting it, I can make it 4 inches instead of 3 3/4. And then I can do 3 inches left and right. And then I can get more of the photo, which is what I want. And I don't feel like I need a mat for every single picture. So then this is going to come here. And now we have the same space over on the other side. I will mat this one. So I'm going to bring it down to 3 3/4. And then I'm going to cut it at 2 3/4. A little bit off this side first. And this was outside the playhouse for the kids. So this is already 4 inches tall. We can cut it at 3 inches and make ourselves a nice little mat. And the kids grew their own garden, so they had fresh produce. So the Queen's kids were out there growing. I'm sure they had servants that helped them, let's be real. But they were getting out there and they were learning how to be productive. And, you know, that is something that I could really get on board with. That's why I love this Queen so much. I mean, one of the many reasons. She was just really smart about how she did things, and loved that she did that with her kids. I had my kids help with my business from the time they were little, and I feel like I have kids with really strong work ethics. They're out there doing some cool stuff, and they really make me proud. So love that. Love that about this Queen. She was just so cool. Okay, so now we are going to do our pictures at the top, and we can decide how we want them done. So this one, I want to go ahead and make a full 6-inch picture. So I'm just working in the confines of the space that they gave me. So this top part needs to be 3 3/4, and I can make that happen pretty easily. Let's see, 3 3/4. So we're just going to cut this little bit off the top, and we have it. But I do not want to make it this skinny 2 3/4. So instead, I'm going to make it for 5 1/2, but then I can take this little part in between here too. So I can make it 5 3. Oh, we switched the measurement over here, guys. Why didn't somebody remind me? I need a sous chef. Okay, we switched how much space we have. So let's just measure it, and I'll show you a little quick mathing Cassie style here. So let's see. I just need the words here. So let's go ahead and do this picture first, and then we'll do the second picture by what we have left. So this is 5. And let's see. This is 4 1/2. So that's now 4 1/2 by 3 3/4. So we need our mat to be, we need me not to knock my microphone over. Okay. So we need our mat to be 4 inches tall. go ahead and do that first. And then we need it to be 4 3/4 wide. And we'll start with putting this down. And we can just throw this out the window at this point because we're going rogue. We're doing our own sizes, guys. Doing our own sizes. But that's not a bad thing. When you're doing the sketches, you know, I hear that a lot where people are worried that their pictures are different sizes than what the sketches are. And so are they going to work? Yes, the answer is yes, they will work. You just have to think a little bit. Okay, so now let's see what space we have left. So now we have, do a nice 3.5, a little bit more than 3.5 picture there and be perfectly happy. So let's see. Which picture would we like? I want this to go down below, I think. Oh, it was so fun. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this one. And this one's going to go over here. And this is going to go over here because this was on this table. And we will have it made. So I'm not going to mat this picture because I do want it to be a little bit taller. And that means we can make it 4 inches tall if we keep it there that way. And then what did I say we had to work with? 3 3/4. Okay. I think I'm going to cut over here because I want to see that corner going around. And then that will fit right there. Maybe a little bit more off. A little bit more space between there. Oh, there's not that much space down there. I mathed right. I was right. Okay. Just to the side, I wanted a little bit more. Okay. So we're just going to bring it to 3.5 so we have the space off to the side so it matches the other side. Okay, there we go. And now I want to put this picture over here. And I want this down the center. So let's go ahead and do the down the center first. Don't you love it when I go rogue and show you how my brain thinks? It's a scary place, isn't it? Okay, so let's see. This we need to cut down to 1 1/8 like we did for the other side. So measure it over to 1 1/8. We're going to measure top and bottom the first time around this time. See, don't tell me I don't learn my lesson. And then I love how nicely this holds everything so I don't have to put repositionable tape on my trimmer. Although look at this, guys. Brand new trimmer. I already have some on there. And I didn't even put tape on the trimmer, but I'll tell you what, I just need to remember to clean it up like constantly. Okay, now we need to cut this down to 8.5. And let's see, I want to start with half a circle. See how I have half a circle there? I really want half a circle. That will bring me joy. And so then we're going to bring it over this way and go to 8.5. I love this little tiny arm. So many things are making me happy lately. Okay, so little tiny arm, flip this. And now this is just going to go right across here. I'm going to use my roller to get it straight if I want to. I'll be honest, that's just not my style. I do like the one that goes over top, but I can't use it with Fats to Fab pages. But when I am working with just building on regular paper, I do love to use that layout roller. It just is so slick. Okay. So now we are going to put this picture down. I'm going to cut it down a little. And let's cut it down to 4.5 like we did the one up top. And I'm going to go ahead and do 3 3/4 because there's some space up there we can get rid of. And now I'm going to take my 4-inch strip and just make that same mat like we have up top at 4 3/4. And now we can mat this photo. It's going to match and go down here. And love it. Okay, and now we just need to put our bottle over here. I know we have a closer up of this bottle, but I just want to do this one. Well, yeah, because it's a full bottle. I like that better. So I am going to go ahead and not mat it since this one up here wasn't matted. And we did 3.5 by 4. So all we need to do is cut it to 3.5. And it's going to go over here. And we're almost there. That's going to line up right next to that one. And we masked our way on camera to different size photos, different size sheet going across. And showed how to make that work. So that's a lot of fun. Now, do we want to add just a few embellishments? Do we have time for that? I think that I'm going to go with yes. So let's pull over these embellishments and see if there's anything that we would love to put here. So I need to do a little bit of writing about Queen Victoria. I can use some write-on ones right there if I want to, but I think I'm also going to add, you know what? This is not something I'm going to use anywhere else in this album, but I really like it because Queen Victoria, she's just so cool. She used technology of her time to work remote from her island castle, and I just think that's so cool. So we're gonna write about that, and I'm gonna use this embellishment there to kind of talk about that. And we've got our correspondence going on. Let's see. Yep, that can go like that. And I want a third thing here to make that what I truly want. Oh, because we're at the cottage. Ha! It's like they made these embellishments for me. Do you think they made them just for me? I like to think that. I like to think that while Creative Memories is making things, they're like watching my life and going, what does Cassie need now? I know it's not true, but in my head, I can think that. And if you're a foam square person, this would have been a great place to do foam squares. I'm not a big foam square person. I like to put more pages in my album. And I feel like when I foam square it, I don't get to put quite as much in there. So I occasionally do it, but I'm not as much of a foam square person. Then I'm going to use some write-on embellishments, and I'll write my little story right there. And that is that. So I hope that you had fun with this one. And I know I did. And I appreciate you being here. Thanks so much, and have a great day.